Hello lovely Foogle friends, how are we all doing? Is it snowing near you? Has it been snowing near you? If you've looked on the Facebook Trying to Get By page, you'll see I was out and about in the snow yesterday. We've seems to have eased off. We've lost quite a bit of it now. The sun's out, so hopefully it will be melting a little and the pathways will be a lot less slippy, because that was my main worry coming home, was ending up on my bottom. Anyway, how are we all doing? I am doing a what we've had for tea video tonight. This is what we've had over the past couple of weeks, some of the things. Now, a lot of people who are being frugal talk about doing menu plans for their meals, looking at what they've got for the week, what they've got in, what they need using and topping up. And generally that's sort of what I do, but lately Olio has been massively dictating what we're going to have for our tea, because we've been getting, like, we had those loads of leeks. I've just had loads of mushrooms, and then I've still got loads of tender stem broccoli. So every meal that I've made in this video is either got leeks or mushrooms or broccoli as part of the recipe, because that's what we need to use up, and I'm trying to find ways to adapt. In fact, today I'm going to pick up some pasta that's actually a lunchtime pasta, so I think it's a tomato and basil pasta part. I think I'm getting a couple of those, but what I will do is I will heat them up and adapt them and make them into something to eat for our dinner tonight. So that's what we've been doing lately. I hope you enjoy this video and it gives you a little bit of inspiration on what you can do for your meals. So going through the freezer, I knew I had pastry. So I've just grabbed whatever pastry bits I have got, and these have been in the fridge defrosting. So I'm just going to leave those there till I need them. And we have got so many mushrooms from Olio and what I bought. So I'm going to use one of these packs of mushrooms, and we've still got loads of leeks left, so I'm going to use up this big chunky leek here. The rest of them are still looking pretty good, so I'm not ready to start slicing and dicing them for the freezer quite yet. So we're going to start off with that and that. This bag of spinach is also starting to look a bit sad, and that will literally disappear to nothing. So we are going to make a spinach, leek and mushroom pie. Chris has requested, because he knew I was going to make a pie of some description, Chris has requested mashed potatoes. So that's what we're going to put with this. So we're going to start slicing and dicing. I've got the big pan out and the mushrooms have started cooking. I didn't chop the mushrooms, I just broke them into chunks, because I think it'll give a bit of a meatier kind of texture. So I'm just going to keep an eye on those and just give them a mix every now and again while I finish chopping up the leek. I've cooked the mushrooms until all the moisture has come away. It takes a good 10 minutes for you to do that. So you will get a lot of moisture out of the mushrooms initially, and then just keep cooking them and eventually that will boil off, and then you are properly frying your mushrooms, which is much, much better. You'll get a much deeper flavour with those. So we're going to add our leeks now, of which we have got loads. This is probably like 4 or 5 handfuls of leeks. There we go. Last little bit. And we're going to give this a mix again. In with the mushrooms. Lift up, pull through. And we're just going to cook these down. So it's a case again of just keeping an eye on them. Give them a mix. They won't take long, the leeks. So just do this for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to start adding some seasonings and then some stock for flavour to make like a gravy and make it lovely and delicious and unctuous. Right, I'm just going to turn the heat down on this a little bit, because we're going to add some herbs and spices and things. So the leeks have cooked down quite a bit. This is still quite a large amount, probably more than my pie tin will need. However, I can always keep the leftovers in the freezer. So we're putting in a little bit of garlic powder. So that is about a teaspoon of garlic powder, about a teaspoon of mixed herbs, and then a heaping teaspoon of tarragon, because I feel as I want it to taste. Tarragon goes really well with chicken and fish, but I really like the flavour of tarragon. I think it's so, I like the slight anise flavour, and it really does work well with mushrooms, I think. So that's that. We're going to then go in with some bouillon powder, which if you watch the channel all the time, you know I absolutely love. And I'm going to measure this because it's a little bit easier. So about a heaping teaspoon of bouillon powder. If you don't have bouillon powder, a stock cube will work. You just won't get quite as an intense flavour. So you could add a little bit of extra of your herbs and stuff. Now in with some water. This is boiled water from the kettle. Till you have just about covered the contents of your pan. There we go. We're going to leave this for about 10 minutes just to soften everything and get all the flavours into our vegetables. If you were doing this with chicken, just make sure you cook it until the chicken is well and truly cooked through, and you would have cooked your chicken earlier on in the stage prior to the mushrooms. Cooked and seared your chicken, taken it out, and then added everything back. But this is not a chicken one for us. This is just a leek and mushroom with a bit of spinach near the end because it needs using up. We've cooked this for a little while now, and I'm going to pop in the spinach. First I'm going to do is turn off the heat, because we don't need heat for spinach to be cooked. So this is a, how many gram bag of spinach? 250 gram bag of spinach. We've had some out of it for sandwiches, but the rest of it's going in. There we go. As usual, spinach starts like a mountain, ends up the size of a cup. So I'm just going to pop that in, push that down a little bit, pop the lid on and just leave it be, because I want this to cool down slightly. I don't want to put a steaming hot mixture into the pastry, because you are just going to end up with a really soggy pastry. So we want this to cool down. So pop the lid on now, leave it, and we'll come back to it later. So I've got my pastries out, or my doughs out of sticky the fridge. These are two different doughs from, well, not two different types of dough, but doughs from two different occasions. So one is slightly older than the other. One was left over from, if you've watched or if you've heard me mention when I was making quiche for my mother-in-law's birthday party, some of this was left over from them. I'm just kind of mushing it together. It is going to make the dough a little bit tougher because I'm handling a little bit more, but that's what happens generally when you get a second lot of dough going, but it will be fine. So our mixture, I'll just show it to you, is nicely wilted down. It is still not cold enough to go in here, but what I'm going to do is I am just going to prep. So I have got a couple of pieces of dough here that are still a bit tough. They must have just been right at the edges. So all I'm going to do is pull those out, or as I roll it, I'll notice them because they won't fasten down properly. Put my rolling pin. There it is. I've got quite a deep, loose leaf or loose bottomed pan that I'm going to use that actually fits in the air fryer. So we're going to give it a go in there, see what happens. Rolling out this dough, which is still, oh, there you go, another knobble. A little bit elastic. So if you noticed how it's kind of, it's stick like that, but you can see it kind of pulling back in. So we're just going to do a little bit more work with it. I want it thin-ish, but not too thin, because it's obviously got a hold up because it's quite a big dish. So I'm just going to keep working on this, keep turning it around, letting it relax in between so it's not going to bounce back too much. So any more really crusty bits, a little bit there, a little bit there. This is what happens sometimes if you freeze dough, and I've got to admit I probably didn't freeze it the best that I could have done in a nice basically I didn't wrap it tight enough in cling wrap, so it has got a little bit dried out at the edges. Is that going to fit? Not quite, but we are getting there. This is the awkward bit. Okay, making sure it's big enough to fit in the container and not going to pull back too tightly. So I'm going to roll it around my rolling pin and see if I can get it in here. Fingers crossed I can. So all I'm going to do is gently, don't force it because you'll stretch it even more, just drop it in. I'm not too worried about these edges being quite tough, thick, because they are pretty much going to be trimmed off to make the top. So pop this in, push it down, but like I say, don't do it too hard because otherwise it will just stretch too much. So I'm going to take, this is my way of doing it, the edges off. I kind of just push around to take it off. You can do it with a knife. Right, we've got a couple of bits that are a bit thicker, so we'll just press those going downwards to add extra thickness down here at the bottom where it'll need it a little bit more. Right, I'm going to put this back in the fridge just to hold. We will roll that back up. We will wrap it well in some cling film for now to go back in the fridge to be the lid once the rest of everything has cooled down nicely. Right, there we go. This has cooled down really well. I've just brought the base out of the fridge. What I'm just going to do, because this is still quite liquidy, I'm just going to sprinkle in a little bit of flour kind of all over the veggies. Now this is not going to go lumpy or anything because you're just sprinkling it around. It'll soon blend in, but it's just to make those juices not quite as liquidy, because I don't want it too wet, because if it's too wet we are not going to end up with a decent base on our pie. And I think I've just knocked you about twice. Sorry about that. There we go, that'll do. I've rolled out my base, not my base, my top, roughly. So let's see how much of this fits in here and see what we end up with. So just going to get a slotted spoon, so if a little bit of the juices come out, it's not too bad. And see how much we can fit in here. There we go. And this is just going to go straight back in the fridge until we are ready for it at tea time, because at the moment it is only 10 to 4. So actually, brainwave, what I think I might do with the leftovers, because I'm going to end up using all of this, is if there's any juices left over, I'm going to strain out as much of the veggies as I can, and this is going to become part of our sauce, like a gravy type situation. So I'm just going to leave that as is. How about that? That was pretty good in terms of filling this pie. So there we go. There is the pie pretty much filled. There are some of the juices left. Yeah, there's a bit of veg at the side, but I will turn that into some kind of gravy, sauce, whatever. There we go. Lid is on. I am not going to be pretty and trim. We are just going to tuck and seal as best we can, so not to waste anything, because there's no point putting this back in the freezer. You don't want to freeze it twice, this pastry. So just Give it a little tuck. There we go. When it comes time for baking, I'm just going to pull it away from the edges a little bit. I just think that helps later on. Oh, coming apart a little bit. What I'm going to do is I will just brush it with a little bit of milk. But what I will do first, before I do anything, is just get a knife and go hole, hole. Because we know we'll need holes later and I might forget. Back in the fridge till it's time to cook. And I'm only going to cook it in the air fryer. I'm probably going to put it on about a 175-ish for about half an hour, see where it's up to, and then go from there. Okay, this was nearly 40 minutes in the air fryer, and then I took it out for 10 just to let it settle. This is the sauce. I added a little bit more water and a little bit of corn flour just to thicken it up. We have got some mashed potato going, so we are all good to go. We are just going to take this over here and decant it from, oh, look at that, not too bad, no leakage. No leakage from there. That is all good. We're going to plate up. So this is a Chris size portion, so will not be small. Let's go for it. Down the middle. Oh, smell. Oh, helps if you use the knife the right way. Smells really good. So we're going to go about a quarter. It is quite unctuous in there. So let's see what happens when we scoop that out. I'm going to get the spatula to go in and under. Not too juicy. Let's hope. Oh, look at that. Yummy. Scoop a dupe of that over here. We're next going to go in with some mashed potato. Ooh, and some gravy. How's that looking? And now I'm going to be really cheeky and just nick a little piece of Chris's, because why not? Don't tell him. It's fine. He doesn't watch my videos anyway. Not that often. So I'm going to have a little taste. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to have a little bit of mash. I'm going to have a little bit of pastry. There we go. There's the shot. Okay, let's put it this way so you can see a little bit better. There we go. I can smell that tarragon. It smells amazing. Mmm. Yummy. Delicious. Really, really good. I'm really impressed with that. Super happy. So for tonight's tea, I got this Thai green curry paste recently from Rogers Wholesale. Mentioned it in my January video. Absolute tons of it. So I'm going to use some of this before I package it up and freeze it. But I've got to decide what we're having with it. So it's a case of a throw it together. Found these corn pieces in the freezer, which I have a feeling are going to be slightly frosty. But we're going to have that. And then I'm going to have a quick look in the fridge at what we've got. We've got some mushrooms. I've got a noisy cat. Smarty! I'm talking to the frugal people. Hold on 1 minute. Right, anyway, I have got some mushrooms in here that are starting to look a bit sad. I've got a broccoli that I got from an Olio that needs using up. The mushrooms from an Olio, so those need using up. Down here, I've got loads of more broccoli, tender stem broccoli. I've got some peppers at the bottom that I know I need to use. I don't know whether leek could go very well in... No, I don't think I'm going to go for leek. I've got onions in there as well. So we're going to have a bit of a mishmash. Throw it together. Curry with that Thai green curry paste. With some lovely coconut milk and some noodles. So let's start to put it together. Chopped up my onion, chopped up my pepper, chopped up my mushrooms. Now, if you were looking at these mushrooms and going, but Samantha, they are so sad. They are looking really, really bad. In my book, as long as they're only sad and they're not slimy, they can still go in. Once you've cooked them, you are not going to notice the sadness, because they're going to shrink down and brown up anyway. So yeah, sad's fine. Slimy, no, I'd probably get rid of those. So I try and use them up before they get to that point. The broccoli, I'm just going to take off the tops, pop that in the freezer, and we're going to air fry those. If you have not had air fried broccoli before, it is divine. So we're going to air fry that, and that's going to be put slightly separately so it doesn't go soggy once it's cooked. And then we'll put in the corn later, but first of all we're just going to fry this off. I'm going to start my onions and peppers first because they're going to take a little bit longer, and once they've slightly softened, I'm going to put in my mushrooms and cook those until everything is nicely fried off. Mushrooms are nicely done. If you spread them around really well, you find that they don't get as watery. If you keep them in quite a closed space, that's when they start to get more watery. So I've cooked those off. We're now going to mix everything together. We're going to add our corn pieces. If you can hear a noise in the background, it's the washing machine going into spin. Because what do we say in this channel? Life goes on, even when I'm shooting a video. There we go, all the corn in and a little bit of ice, but that'll be fine. There we go. We're just going to keep this now on a lowish heat, medium to low heat, until the corn has completely defrosted. And once it's defrosted and starting to warm through, that's when I'm going to start adding our flavours and our coconut milk. All the corn is now defrosted and warming through. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the paste. Now, there's no instructions on this container on how to use this paste or how much of this paste to use. So this is where we're going to try it out and see. So we're going to start off with, that is a couple of very heaping teaspoons. I'm going to see how that does. So I'm going to cook it off slightly in the pan, because it's always good to cook through your seasonings, your pastes and things like that. Just kind of gets them going a little bit, starts to release the fragrances. And then I have got my favourite coconut in the world, this coconut milk. Lidl, I harp on about this all the time anytime I make anything with this, because look there, 94% coconut. You have a look on so many others and they are only 50 to 60% coconut. So if you buy this and even just use half and use the rest water, you are still doing really, really well. And if you buy the diet one or the low calorie one, that's all they've done anyway. So why pay the same price for half a container of water? Seriously, not worth it. So buy this and then water it down yourself. So I'm going to give this a good shake because it does tend to have quite a crusty top. So that smells amazing. And we're going to go in now that that's cooked for a minute, with this coconut milk, and I will show you exactly what I mean about how thick it is. Look, that is proper thickness. So if I want to water this down any more, I'm just going to use water, you know, to thin it down a little bit. I'm not going to, it's so good. There we go. So start getting that mixed. And the only way I'm going to be able to tell is just by tasting it. So I'm going to give it a good 10 minutes on a medium to low heat to kind of permeate all the flavours through. Escaped piece of corn. And then see how it tastes and then decide whether I want to add any more. Because what I can do is I can always just move everything to the side a little bit, cook a little bit off in the middle, and then mix it in with everything else. Let's just do an initial cheeks tasting and just see what it's like now. Yeah, with that coconut milk, obviously the coconut milk is going to be more forward in flavour. So I'm going to give it like I say, 5 to 10 minutes just to warm through, and then test the flavourings because they will intensify slightly once it is warmed. And I have a feeling I'm going to be putting in a little bit more. Okay, it's been simmering for about 10 minutes or so, and I've tasted it again. We definitely need more of this paste, so another massively, that's a well more than a heaping teaspoon. That's probably 2 very, very heaping teaspoons. Noise in the background is the air fryer. I've just put that broccoli in, sprayed it with spray oil, 175, 176 for about 15 minutes or so. So I'm just gonna sear this paste again. Again, it just heightens the flavour a little bit. And we'll just start to add in some of the other stuff. And again, just give it a few more minutes. Ready to then start mixing into the rest of the mixture. Over here, I've just got some noodles cooking because we're going to have this with noodles. You could have it with rice. You could have it on its own. It's absolutely up to you. If you've noticed that the coconut has thickened, which I knew it would do, so once we get this to the right flavour consistency, I might add a little bit of water. You could add a little bit of extra milk. What I might do actually is just put a little bit of water in here just to get that last remnants of the coconut. But first of all, I want to get the flavours right. So give this a few more minutes and then we'll taste again. Right. Oh, there we go. This is tasting pretty good now. It's not super spicy. It's just got those really light, bright flavours of a green curry. If it was made for me, I would be adding a little bit of chilli, but because it's for Chris as well, I'm not going to add any because he's not a big fan of chilli. But if you're a chilli head, add some chilli to it. Well, that's if you're using this particular paste. If you're just using your own paste that you have, whatever paste you've got, again, just go with the instructions that are on the packet and just add flavours as you see fit. And I've just added a little bit of, and you can hear Smarty Cat in the background, I have just added a little bit of water. I did add it to the coconut milk, so it's not just watered it down too much. And that is good to go. Our noodles are ready. I'm going to have a proper taste now with all the flavours. Try and get some mushroom in there because I love mushrooms. There we go. Really good. And just, you saw what I did at the beginning. It was just whatever vegetables I happen to have, and if they're looking a bit sad, you can't even tell. Tea tonight is a bit of a simple one. We've got some potatoes, we're having some no plant kievs, and we have got some broccolini, some tender stem broccoli that we are going to air fry it because you know it is my current favourite way to have broccoli. So now these potatoes are actually already cooked. What I did was I popped them in my Instant Pot on pressure cook, put the trivet in the bottom, cup of water, put about 6 of these potatoes in there, and then put them on pressure cook for about 12 minutes because these were pretty good sized potatoes, and then just let it natural release. So the potatoes now, these are fully cooked. They're just not hot. They've been in the fridge. So all we're going to do is pop these in the air fryer. So let's pop those in. Turn it on. And we are going to air fry these for in total, I think 25 minutes just to get them nice and crispy. But partway through the cooking, we're going to add the kievs because the kievs on the back says, if you can read it, 20 to 22 minutes, but that's in a normal oven. So I think they're only going to take about 15 minutes in the air fryer, and we do have the trivet, so we can pop the trivet in there as well. And then we're going to put the broccolini broccoli, tender stem broccoli, whatever. That's going to go in too. So I'm going to turn the preheat and turn the turn reminder off. We are air frying. We are doing it for 25 minutes in total, hopefully. Our temperature is going to be about 180. We're going to start, and in about 10 minutes time we're going to put the Kievs in. Right, 10 minutes in, I've taken the potatoes out. I'm putting the Kievs in the bottom because the tray won't fit on top of the potatoes. So now we're going to put the potatoes back on the top, and we're going to put this in for another 5 minutes or so. So that's where we're up to. And then add our broccoli. Okay, we're back 5 minutes later. Broccoli is in. I'm going to give this a bit of a spray with some spray oil. There we go. Tray is going back over. There we go. Potatoes are going back on. Oh, Smarty's moaning. Oh, careful. Don't knock it. Don't knock it, don't knock it, don't knock it. Officially, this has got 8 minutes left because obviously timings, but I'm going to pop it back up to 10 minutes and see how we're going. I have pulled out dinner. We have got a crispy, can you hear it? Potato, which I'm going to cut in half. And then half again. See, I'm doing this one-handed, and then I like to do a bit of a squeeze. Ready for some, I can't believe it's not. Let me get the butter knife ready for that. There we go. So a good helping of spread in there. There we go. Oh, I should have done this on a tripod. Anyway, so that's that potato. We are taking off the trivet, taking out one of our Kievs, some of our broccoli. Whoop! That is our dinner. Easy to do. Sometimes, you know, a bit of pre-made Kiev, a jacket potato that only really needed heating and crisping up, and some of that lovely crispy broccoli. Yummy. We are sorted. Easy enough tea. I hope you enjoyed those. They gave me, you know, it was good to look back and see what I had made. We enjoyed all the dishes. All of them tasted great, but we're just, like I said, adapting what we've got in the fridge to what we can make for our meals. Sometimes I will chop up things and pop them in the freezer, but sometimes I like to use as much as I can when it's still fresh and ready to eat. Let me know in the comments below which was your favourite. What would you have done with the leeks, the mushrooms and the tender stem broccoli? Although the way I've been doing that broccoli every time is in the air fryer because I am absolutely addicted to it at the moment. It is absolutely one of my favourite ways of doing broccoli, and I probably mentioned that in a couple of videos, if not more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.